Hey guys, how are all my dears friends? Welcome. What if Naruto was became Fuinjutsu Master and make corrupted realities movie? Sarutobi, you know just as well as any of us here that a Jinchuruki should be properly trained as early as possible. It is about time Konoha has a proper Jinchuruki, not some coddled brat like his mother and Mito. Even if you won't let me take him into root, he needs to be mentored and trained and become strong fast. You know that sand, rock, Mist and Lightning all have young Jinchuruki right now, even Waterfall has a young Jinchuruki as well. Naruto is 6 years old and needs training now. Danzo stood firm before Sarutobi and the rest of the village council, his voice holding a respectful tone, yet undertoned with authority he didn't have over Sarutobi. Sarutobi sighed, once again grimacing with indecision, reluctance and finally, resignation. Alright, we will again call a vote of the shinobi half of the council regarding whether Naruto be trained as a Jinchuruki or as a normal child going through the academy. As it was the third time in the week that a vote had been called over Naruto's training, Sarutobi didn't expect things to change, with the same 55% to 45% vote to be tallied in favor of Naruto to be trained as a normal child. But today things were indeed different. The most avid supporters of Naruto to go through normal training, the Akamichi, Nara, Yamanaka and Aburam clans, all decided in favor of Naruto being specially trained. This flipped the vote tally to 70% to 30% in favor of Naruto being specially trained under the Hokage's supervision. Hugely surprised, Sarutobi turned to the 4 clans, surprise, questioning and incomprehension written on his face, expecting to receive some kind of explanation from one of them. He was again surprised to receive no such elaboration. A smirk formed on Danzo's face, his lips already moving to form a sentence before Sarutobi swiftly cut him off. No, Naruto will not be trained in your rude Anbu division, Danzo. We do certainly not need a mindless Jinchuruki to be controlled. Sarutobi leaned further back into his chair, his mind racing at his options. He wanted to avoid having Naruto privately tutored at an early age, as it would surely attract other villages to Naruto, as Konoha did not usually train their Jinchuruki. It might even push them to train their Jinchuruki earlier, again causing more problems. Sarutobi let out a wistful sigh, wishing for his favorite pipe that was currently left on his desk in the office. Fugaku Uchiha stood from his chair, loudly clearing his throat before speaking. Now that we finally have agreed on Naruto being trained, I think we all want to know who is going to train him, and if there is an option that one of the clans would be able to train him themselves. Sarutobi took a second to reply. Thinking through what he had prepared in case the council would rule to have Naruto trained, the only 2 good options for Naruto left now is for either myself to train him or get him several instructors to train him many different areas, both of which seem rather unattractive, as I am definitely too old to be training a new student these days. I guess Naruto may have to be clan trained after all. The council was all beginning to get impatient, except for maybe Shikaku taking a nap and Chaoza snacking on a bag of chips. Fugaku again spoke. Hokage-sama, your answer? It is my decision that I will have to think further on this before making a sure decision, and I am now classifying everything that was said in this council meeting, and for no one to speak of Naruto being privately trained to anyone, and that means anyone. We can't have other villages getting word of this and sending assassins after Naruto. There were quite a few grumbles of disappointment at that, each councilman or woman wanting to know who would be training the boy. With a nod from Sarutobi, the council room doors were opened by Anbu guard standing inside the room, and the council all trickled out of the room, except for Chaoza, Inoichi and Shikaku, who stayed behind. Slightly confused, Sarutobi spoke. Now what are you 3 waiting here for? Shukaku stifled a yawn before speaking. Now I am sure your first real question is why we voted for Naruto to be specifically trained so young. After receiving a nod from Sarutobi, he continued, and that is because we learned of a certain relative of Naruto who is very much alive and currently residing in Tenzakugai, running a ninja supply store in the southwest part of the city. Putting 2 and 2 together, Sarutobi spoke up, and that is great for Naruto, but I can't exactly have a no-name Uzumaki come train Naruto. The rest of the council will throw a fit. The Ino-Shikacho trio all nearly choked as they tried to hold their laughter back. All 3 exchanged glances, snickering at their own thought or joke, raising an eyebrow. Hiruzen was now indeed very curious about this Uzumaki. Catching his breath first, Chaoza spoke up. Now let's just say that he is not exactly a no-name Uzumaki. And who exactly is this Uzumaki that is so special? Snorting, Inoichi laughed again, before speaking. Special is right, haha, he is a special kind of special. Raising his eyebrow, Sarutobi was thoroughly confused and curious. Alright, so who is he then? Shukaku finally finished laughing, speaking with mirth still in his voice. Isao. Sarutobi stopped, his thoughts racing, and the 3 clan heads watched as surprise, deep thought, and then determination found its way upon their Hokage's face. Inoichi and Chaoza snickered again, and all 3 of the Ino-Shikacho trio walked out, and Sarutobi heard them laughing as they walked down the halls. Finally Saratobi was left alone in the room, again wishing for his pipe, beckoning with his hand. Saratobi signaled over an Anbu, "I need you to go find Isao Uzumaki and have him report to my office whenever possible. He is in Tenzaku-gai, running a ninja supply store in the southwest portion of the city. If he declines my summons, you will hand him." At this Saratobi pulled out a scroll and held it out for the Anbu. It should make him obey my summons without any issues. The Anbu bowed, grabbed the scroll, tucked it inside of his vest, and asked, "What does this Isao Uzumaki look like?" Saratobi laughed lightly at that, before replying, "If you haven't heard of him, he looks like a normal Uzumaki male, red hair pulled back into a ponytail, broad shoulders, and a tall frame. He wears a black and gray jacket with a Uzumaki logo on the right shoulder. He is a loud, boisterous man that you can't miss." The Anbu again bowed high. "Hokage-sama." The Anbu stood straight again, before disappearing in a quick shunshin. Again sighing, Saratobi spoke aloud, "I need my pipe now." "Now Isao-san, please hold on and let me." The Konoha Anbu was interrupted as he spoke. He was standing inside of a very large room, the main content of the room being shelves and shelves of simple, and not so simple shinobi supplies. Behind a main counter in front of the main entrance was a roughly 6'2" man, shaggy red hair falling just inches past shoulders, while the front of his hair was all gelled back, sleek looking. The man was very ruggedly good looking, strong jaw set, and emerald green eyes. He was wearing a dark red t-shirt with the Uzumaki symbol proudly displayed across the chest and on both arms of the shirt. He wore mid-calf length black cargo shorts, complete with the typical ninja sandals on his feet. The man waved his arm and cut off the Anbu as he spoke, leaning forward over the hardwood counters, holding his head between his hands. "The esteemed Hokage of Konoha should know that there is no reason whatsoever for me to go see him. Even if he has found out I am here now, there is no way I am going to Konoha." The Anbu nodded, reaching into a pocket and pulling out a scroll, holding it out for Isao. Isao stood straight, eyeing the scroll for a few seconds, as if debating if whatever was written on it would even be worth reading. Finally deciding, he reached out for the scroll, grabbed it from the Anbu, and it immediately crumbled to dust. "I do not want to see you here again, Anbu-san. Go back to your Hokage and tell him to fuck himself." Behind his mask, Itachi Uchiha nearly gasped aloud. If he had spoken like that before the Hokage, he would be severely reprimanded for it, and it was just unbelievable someone that the Hokage would want to come have train the Jinchuriki boy would be so volatile. "Now Isao-san, I am nearly 100% sure that you are going to come to Konoha with me." Isao snorted, "What are you going to make me go?" Now smiling behind his mask, Itachi spoke, "I can't make you go, but Uzumaki Naruto would love to meet you." "What did you just say?" Isao was definitely now paying full attention. "Naruto Uzumaki, he is our village's current Jinchuriki, and son to Kushina Uzumaki. He is currently 5 years of age and a living punching bag for the village. You have definitely heard of the Kyuubi attacking the village only half a decade ago. He is an orphan Jinchuriki living in one of Konoha's orphanages, and the Hokage would like for you to train him as a personal student." In the next corresponding 2 seconds, 3 emotions flashed across Isao's face. First, his face lit up with joy when he heard Uzumaki Naruto and Uzumaki Kushina, rage when he heard that Konoha again made in Uzumaki the Jinchuriki, and then determination. "Alright, fuck it, you got me, give me 2 minutes, and then we are running at your full speed to Konoha." Isao walked into the back of the store, where Itachi heard 3 crashes, 1 exploding tag, and 4 calls of son of a bitch, before finally Isao was back standing before Itachi. "Now let's fucking run, you just run as fast as you can, and I will try not to get too far ahead of you." After a nod, Itachi started off at a full sprint out of the store, out of Tenzaku-gai in less than 10 seconds, and flying through the forest before Isao even stepped out from his store. Isao laughed, looked at the door, and promptly disappeared in a red blur and a small crack sound. Itachi was now 2 miles from the village, leaping through the trees like only Konoha shinobi can, when after hearing a small cracking sound, like a pop, and seeing a red blur off to his right, suddenly Isao was running backwards, skipping through the trees, still keeping up with Itachi. "Now kid, this has been nagging at me since you walked into my store. How old are you?" "Isao-san, that is classified information I cannot share with a non-Konoha personal." "Sheesh kid, I was just asking because even if you seem to be acting like an Anbu, your voice sounds like your balls haven't even dropped yet." Now that definitely surprised Itachi. Even after hearing the vulgarity the man had spoken of his Hokage, his words totally caught Itachi off guard and he stuttered slightly, tripping himself over a tree branch he had previously been trying to jump to. Itachi tripped, smacked his face on a branch, and barely caught himself from falling any further. He raced to the tops of the trees again to see Isao rolling on a tree branch, laughing deeply and heavily at Itachi's own little hiccup. After Isao continued laughing for another full 2 minutes, he finally stood, saw Itachi standing there without his Anbu mask, which had smashed into several pieces upon meeting a wonderful branch in the woods. Alright, let's go, I just had to do it, the look on your face right now. Isao was laughing so hard, he had to place his hands on his knees to keep himself standing upright. Finally stifling most of his laughter, Isao nodded, yet still laughing, as they continued on. After nearly 20 minutes of constant running, Itachi barely muttering, "I am 14," nearly made Isao trip on a tree branch and smack his face too, nearly. Time skip. Slowing down to a walk, Isao and Itachi casually walked up to the gates of Konoha, noticing that 3 of the Chunin guards on duty noted Isao's appearance, clearly walking next to Itachi Uchiha, the next Minato Namikaze. They walked through the gates no problem, walking through the village until they arrived at the Hokage's tower. Glancing over at Isao before they entered, Itachi saw concealed emotions flash across his face, resentment, hatred, betrayal, and finally hope, at least, it seemed like hope to Itachi. He was one of the Uchiha's best at reading facial features, but Isao knew how to keep things hidden, if not well enough evidently. Isao took a deep breath, setting his face into an unreadable mask as they stepped through the doors into the tower, walking up several flights of stairs, past several accountants, various ninja and secretaries. It was several minutes before the two finally came to a stop outside the Hokage's office, Itachi stepping forward and knocking 3 times on the doors. "Come in." Pushing the doors open, Itachi and Isao stepped into the office. Itachi curtly nodded to Sarutobi, then promptly shunshined away, leaving Isao and Sarutobi alone in the office as the Anbu guards outside of the office pulled the large oakwood doors closed. Silence reigned between the two men, both staring into the other's eyes. Sarutobi shifted his gaze away first, breaking eye contact, slight guilt showing itself on his face. "Now I know that it has been a long time, but I would like to say that I am glad to see you, Isao, for more than half a dozen reasons alone." Isao snorted, his demeanor becoming dark as his eyes narrowed. "Cut the crap, where is Naruto Uzumaki?" Slightly taken aback, Sarutobi rebuffed, "Yes, well, it was my intention to have Naruto here in this office with me when you arrived, and yet for the last 5 hours none of my shinobi have been able to locate Naruto anywhere in the city, which is strange because his caretakers at the orphanage say he ran away from their care several months ago, which means he may, Here Sarutobi stopped, gulping past a lump in his throat as he croaked out, "He may have been living homeless in the streets for the last several months." What? Indignation, rage and fury began to run across Isao's face. His killing intent began to fill the room, because even a relative he had never met was family, his only family at that, and to hear he was living like a slum in Konoha ticked Isao off the edge. Teeth clenched, Isao began to drawl out, first of all, what the hell was one of the last Uzumaki doing living in some orphanage? The Kyuubi Jinchuruki to boot ran away my ass, more like they kicked him out, and second, how the fuck could you even let this happen? Isao was openly yelling at the Hokage's face, his fiery red hair beginning to spike up as his chakra flared. Feeling the chakra flaring, the 2 Anbu guards standing outside threw open the doors, kunai out ready to remove Isao from the room. Surprisingly to them, Sarutobi shook his head and gestured for them to again leave the room. "Now Isao, since my men can't or won't find Naruto, you go find him. I know you can sense your fellow Uzumaki's blood. It was something Kushina told me a while ago, that she could feel Mito's presence in the village." Isao snorted, still enraged, as he closed his eyes, seeming to focus for a second before snapping them open and immediately dashing straight through one of the Hokage's office windows, leaving Sarutobi scowling in his office. Reaching into a drawer, Sarutobi pulled out his pipe. "I guess I have a little bit of time before they come back, might as well relieve some of this tension." Sarutobi lit the pipe, taking a deep inhale. Darting his eyes side to side, a young 6-year-old boy opened the lid of the trash can, pulling out a bag from the can. Disgusting odors wafted heavily out of the bag he pulled out. The boy ignored them as he tore open the bag, digging through rotting meat, dozens of flies, and piles of moldy noodles before he found a closed cardboard box inside. He knew what was inside these, his favorite thing in the world, ramen. The little ramen place he was currently behind, stealing their trash, made the best ramen in town, and he also knew that the ramen left inside of the little boxes was safe from the bugs and mold. Smiling triumphantly, the boy held the box out in front himself. "Oh fucking hell no." The boy dropped into a crouch, his legs gathered underneath himself as he prepared to begin running, but he was nowhere near fast enough as the man that had startled the boy grabbed him, knocking the box out of his grasp before turning him toward the man. Holding onto the boy was a roughly 6'2" man, shaggy red hair falling just inches past shoulders, while the front of his hair was all gelled back, sleek looking. The man was very ruggedly good looking, strong jaw set, and emerald green eyes. He was wearing a dark red t-shirt with the Uzumaki symbol proudly displayed across the chest and on both arms of the shirt. He wore mid-calf length black cargo shorts, complete with the typical ninja sandals on his feet. Suddenly, the boy was turned sideways, held tucked underneath the man's arm as he raced through the village. Within 20 seconds, he suddenly found himself sitting in a chair in the Hokage's office, facing the Hokage, with the man who had suddenly grabbed him, standing to the right of the Hokage. Both of them had sad expressions on their faces, but with rage and indignation still all over Isao's face, which the boy could not even tell, he just saw the two men staring at him. Isao was racing through the rooftops of Konoha, dropping down behind a ramen stand. Isao saw who he was looking for. A remarkably short, roughly 6-year-old boy was digging into a trash can, holding a small box of ramen before him like it was gold. The boy had fiery red hair, the exact same as his, but the boy's hair was matted down with mud, dirt and grime smeared all over the boy's face. The boy was in jeans with over 10 holes in them, barely being countable as rags, a torn-up orange t-shirt, and wore nothing on his feet. Isao nearly screamed. Instead he settled for "oh fucking hell no." Isao was racing through the rooftops of Konoha, dropping down behind a ramen stand. Isao saw who he was looking for. A remarkably short, roughly 6-year-old boy was digging into a trash can, holding a small box of ramen before him like it was gold. The boy had fiery red hair, the exact same as his, but the boy's hair was matted down with mud, dirt and grime smeared all over the boy's face. The boy was in jeans with over 10 holes in them, barely being countable as rags, a torn-up orange t-shirt, and wore nothing on his feet. Isao nearly screamed. Instead he settled for "oh fucking hell no." Staring at Naruto, Sarutobi couldn't help but gasp sadness all over his face as his features drooped. How could I let this happen? To Minato's own son, he and Kushina must be looking at me with the same expression Isao has now. What have I done? Looking between the two men, Naruto was completely confused, totally bewildered, having gone from finding wonderful ramen to standing in the Hokage's office, staring at the Hokage and the man who had grabbed him, and back again. Sarutobi sighed. "Naruto, I would like for you to meet Uzumaki Isao, he is a relative of yours that has come to the village." Isao cracked a half-hearted smile. "Hey, it's good to meet you Naruto." Isao took a step around the Hokage's desk, extending a hand out to Naruto, which Naruto completely ignored, diving forward into Isao's arms, tears instantly forming in his eyes. Isao stood there awkwardly for a few seconds, caught off guard by the level of affection the 6-year-old was showing. He slowly returned the hug, his arms bent all the way down, only his hands reaching down to Naruto's back. What a short kid. In Isao's arms, Naruto began to babble. I have family, he continued on, completely overwhelmed. "I won't have to live in the streets again, I can get real ramen, I live in a house, I have family." Pulling himself apart from Isao, Naruto looked up towards Isao's face. "I am so happy to see you." Isao smiled, before turning towards Sarutobi. "Well, I am here, I guess me and Naruto here will be living somewhere. And that I will have to get licensed as a Konoha shinobi, I'm sure." Sarutobi leaned forward, reaching into a drawer and pulling out a thick stack of papers and 2 keys, handing them to Isao. "Here is all of the paperwork you will need to fill out to get licensed as a shinobi, and the deed to a small house over in the southeast of Konoha. It should be plenty big enough to the both of you, and Naruto, I know this may be a bit of a rush to you. But Isao is going to take care of you, and you are going to live with him now, are you okay with that?" Naruto seemed surprised for a second. "Yes of course, he is family, and I am so happy he is here, and I can't wait to get to know him." Naruto turned and beamed a smile at Isao, showing off dirty, nasty teeth. "Okay, Naruto is going to need a lot of work. Now Naruto, could you wait right outside the doors for a second while I talk with Isao privately?" Sarutobi asked. Naruto looked confused for a second, before seeming to brush it off. "Yeah sure, just don't make me stand out there all day." After Naruto had walked out and closed the doors behind him, Isao spoke. "Okay, so when do I actually start training Naruto? He looks like what he needs is at least half a dozen showers to brush his teeth until the toothbrush breaks, eat a horse and then sleep for a week." Sarutobi nodded grimly. "Yes well there is nothing I can do for Naruto right now that can make up for how sorry I feel right now. I feel sick, looking at the boy, having to sleep in the streets and scrounge up what food he could. Sarutobi stopped, raising a hand up to his face and brushing away a tear out his eye. Clearing his throat, Sarutobi continued, "Well I will need that paperwork filled out in 3 days, then you will have to come back here, turn it all in, get a headband, I will name you a Jounin of Konoha, and then we get a meeting with the council, and then after that you will have to start training him, and I know it isn't much time, I mean. You only even knew you had any family around 7 hours ago, and now you are going to go live with and raise that family. Yeah it is definitely a rush, I don't even know where to start because clearly Naruto does not even know any basic anything really, what he is going to need is a private tutor as well, to teach him math, science, and to read probably. I can teach him a lot about ninja history and tactics, so you won't have to worry about that." I will have to find some suitable teacher, maybe one of my Chunin can take it on as a mission, maybe someone who wishes to become a Chunin Academy instructor, and I think I already know who to pick. Well, never mind that, I arrange it later, but your new house is down 3 blocks, forward until you pass the Akamichi barbecue place, then right around the corner on your left. The key to the lock is also in that envelope. Alright, well, I guess I am all set then. Yeah, I wish you luck with Naruto, he is going to be a huge handful for the next couple of days. Yeah, just know that I am going to come back and you are going to tell me where that orphanage where Naruto was staying at is, because I am not going to let this slide. Sarutobi gulped. Yes, well, some retribution or punishment for them will be needed, as I have still been paying them for Naruto's stay there, as they seem to have forgotten to mention that he was no longer there. Oh, cut the bull fucking shit, Sarutobi, whoever you trusted with Naruto is some bigoted old faggot that didn't want to care for the Kyuubi Jinchuruki any longer, and you need to man up, protect Naruto, stop trusting in other random ass villagers, to not be bigoted fools that obviously have some pole stuck up their ass. With that, Isao walked out of the room, leaving a slightly dumbfounded Sarutobi, surprised by Isao's sudden change from being utterly pissed at him, happy and at the same time sad to see Naruto, and then pissed off again. I need my pipe. Rounding the corner, Isao and Naruto stopped, looking at their new home. It was a single-level home, with a fence built around it, and the yard inside. There was at least 30 feet from the gate back to the house, and the yard continued all the way around the house, 30 feet between the fence and the walls all around that Naruto or Isao could see. Stepping up to the gate, Isao pushed it open before stopping to let Naruto go first. Naruto stepped forward, walking towards his new home slowly. Home, he has a home. Isao reached into his pocket and handed Naruto the key. You go inside, I am going to walk around the house first. Naruto nodded, running forward, putting the key into the lock, twisting it, and stepped inside. Immediately in the entryway was a sitting room, it seemed, several chairs positioned to the left of the room, a fireplace on the same side, and multiple empty bookshelves on the far wall. There was a hallway to Naruto's right, about 15 feet forward, and another hallway going forward. Right by the first hallway as well. Deciding to go right first, Naruto headed down the hallway, which had 3 doors to the left and 1 door all the way at the end. The first door led into a bathroom, the second room into a bedroom, the third door into a second bedroom, both bedrooms furnished with a bed, a bedside table, dressers, a closet, and the door at the end of the hallway led into an empty room. Nothing inside except for several bookshelves and a table with a few chairs. Deciding to check out the rest of the house, Naruto walked back into the living room and headed towards the other hallway. To the left was a kitchen with an open doorway. Conjoined with the kitchen was a dining room with a small table and 4 chairs, also with an open doorway connected the hallway. The end of the hallway led to the end of the house and a door that clearly led to the backyard, so Naruto tried the final door, which led to a room that had to take up at least a quarter of the house itself, only to find it locked. When Naruto tried to use the house key to open the door, he found that the house key would not open the door. Opening the back door, Naruto gasped, not expecting to see a beautiful garden with a cobblestone pathway leading to a water fountain where Isao was standing, gazing down into the water. Standing before a set of double, solid oak doors, Isao turned his head, cracking his neck as he waited. Sarutobi said he would have to wait maybe a few minutes before he could go in. Instead, here he stood 45 minutes later, still waiting. Inka Sarutobi somehow didn't know, Uzumaki's did not do well with patience. Finally about to open the doors, Isao was mid-step towards the doors when Sarutobi cracked open the left door. Sarutobi poked his head out of the crack, saying, "Sorry about that, Isao. Some simple matters got blown out of proportion by some councilmen, making it take much longer than it should have." Nodding absently, Isao stepped forward as Sarutobi turned back towards the council. Isao was halfway through opening the council room doors when Sarutobi started addressing the council, and here is Uzumaki Isao, the Red Lightning of Uzushio, soon to be Jounin of Konoha, and soon to be the caretaker of and personal sensei to Uzumaki Naruto, upon his becoming an official Jounin. Isao stepped fully into the room, glancing around at the faces around the table. He easily recognized Hiyashi Hyuga, Fugaku Uchiha, Inoichi Yamanaka and Danzo, whatever his last name is, before settling his eyes back on Sarutobi. There was roughly a dozen other clan heads in attendance, with another roughly 15 civilian councilmen and women. When Isao walked into the room, recognition flashed across all the clan heads' faces, and most of the civilian councilmen recognized him as well. Hiyashi was the first to speak. "Well, this is definitely a good surprise to see." Inoichi spoke next. "Yes, it is very great to see Isao, the Red Lightning of Uzushio here. I had heard by chance, actually heard he was working in a shinobi supply store in Tenzakugai." Here, one of the civilian councilmen stood up to speak. "Now I think I can speak for most of the civilian council in saying I have no clue who this Isao is and where he just suddenly sprang from, getting recognition like this from the clan heads." The civilian had directed his question at Sarutobi, who in turn looked to Isao to speak. Isao shuffled slightly. Yes, well, I am Uzumaki Isao, aka the Red Lightning of Uzushio, aka the nephew of the last Uzukage. I was out of Uzushio when it was attacked by rock and lightning in the Third Great Shinobi War, and I spent the next 13 years hiding all over the place to evade Iwa Hunter Nin that were chasing down all known Uzumaki survivors. I should have guessed that an Uzumaki managed to stay in Konoha. Silence swept across the civilian council as they took in the fact they were obviously looking at an elite shinobi, most possibly the last Uzumaki sealing expert left alive, and that fact alone floored them, to have him fall into the village's lap to train his last relative, their Jinchuruki, and he would become a Jounin of Konoha. The previous councilman again stood. Then this is very great news, to have such a shinobi with the Uzumaki sealing knowledge. He will definitely have to train Naruto in this, as we could definitely use a sealing master, as Jiraiya can't even come close to the sealing mastery of the Uzumaki. Isao beamed slightly at the praise, even a master shinobi that knows he is awesome, having people say so is always too fulfilling. I will train Naruto in all that I know of the Uzumaki sealing, and probably most all I know in anything Uzumaki related, because if he is truly the only other Uzumaki left alive, and I believe he is, then he will have to learn everything. This had the entire shinobi council smiling, even Danzo cracked a wicked-looking smile. Isao suddenly looked more serious. Now I would like to know who knew that Naruto was living on the street digging out of trash cans for food the last 7 months. Few bombshell please. When Isao finished speaking, Sarutobi paled, Danzo remained impassive, half the civilian council started to sweat, Fugaku's smile fell, and the rest of the council looked shocked, seeing all of the obviously guilty faces around him. Isao spoke, oh fucking hell no. Sarutobi paled, oh crap. Isao's chakra flared, quickly becoming incredibly pissed off, what the fuck? Are you even fucking kidding me? You all saw your village Jinchuruki, the last known Uzumaki, just living homeless on the fucking streets, eating out of damn garbage cans like some slum, and just ignored it. What the fuck is wrong with you people? He is my fucking family. There is no way I am going to let this shit slide. Sarutobi, I am gone, and I am taking Naruto with me. Now wait a minute, you can't do that, Naruto is our Jinchuruki, and there is no way you are going anywhere with him. It was Fugaku who spoke, suddenly less guilty than before. Isao turned to Fugaku, rage on his face, you especially should have done something, you are the head of the fucking village police for fuck's sake. And there is nothing any of you can do right now to stop me from disappearing with Naruto right now. In his signature red flash, Isao was gone out of the council room, the oak doors flying off their hinges as Isao blew right through them. Few enormous bombshell please. Sarutobi slammed his head against the table, fuck me, I need my pipe. Within seconds, Isao was inside his and Naruto's home, sealing things back into scrolls, as Naruto, freshly showered, in clean clothes, watched stunned, are you going somewhere Isao? Not me Naruto, we are both leaving right now, we are going to go back to my shop in Tenzakugai, but we have to get there real quick okay? So I need you to take this scroll. At this Isao handed Naruto a sealing scroll, and put your clothes into this, we need to go fast. Naruto, still confused, ran into his room at the end of the hallway, while Isao was in his own room, packing the few things he had brought and bought. Within a minute they were both ready to go. Naruto, still confused, followed Isao out the door. Before Isao turned back at Naruto, there are people in this village that watched you as you were homeless in the village, eating out of garbage cans, starving, and filthy. They did nothing to help you, and there are now few people in the village that I trust right now, so we need to go for a while. Naruto was now in tears, they were leaving his home, where he had never stepped out of in his 6 years of life. Do we have to go Isao? Isao sighed, yes we have to go for a while, but we will be back in some time. I can't stay in a village that watched as my family starved in the streets. Now come here, I am going to use my Akasenku no Jutsu to travel really fast, so I need you to hold on tight to me, and we are going to go very fast okay? Naruto seemed unsure about this, well okay, if it's safe. Yeah it's safe, as long as you hold on tight, and I won't let go of you either okay? Isao reached out to Naruto with one arm, which Naruto took, and Isao pulled Naruto into a hug. I am sorry we have to leave Konoha Naruto, but we will be back someday, after they can regret what they did, or didn't do for you. Then Isao's signature red flash, with a loud snap, they were gone, as Sarutobi and Inoichi just arrived, the entire village council behind them, all staring at the now empty property, all of their faces with disbelief, guilt, and in the cases of Fugaku, Hiashi and Danzo, rage. Fugaku was by far the most enraged. Sarutobi-sama, there is no way we can let him just take off with our Jinchuruki like this, Naruto belongs to the. Dear Sarutobi cut Fugaku off, as unhappy with Isao that I am right now, I am even more pissed off at what you and the other councilmen have done, how you could not do something about the village Jinchuruki, a little 6-year-old boy live on the streets like some animal is beyond me. I am 5 seconds away from throwing you and the other councilmen in a jail cell for criminal negligence of a child. especially you and Danzo, it is your jobs to maintain village order and you both should have done something since you both knew that he was out in the streets. Saratobi stopped a breath for a second, trying to control his anger, and because of your actions, or lack of actions, we just lost the last Uzumaki sealing expert left alive in the world. That in and of itself is almost as bad as losing Naruto and the Kyuubi. Finally, Fugaku seemed to look shamed, as did nearly half the civilian council that had seen him digging into trash cans near their stores or places of business, but had not really given half a shit. Saratobi took a deep breath. I can only hope that they do come back to us, as we really could have used the Uzumaki's sealing abilities in the village again, and all I can hope for is that Naruto especially will come back to the village someday. With Isao and Naruto. Isao stopped, dropping Naruto from his arms as he stood before his shinobi supply store, cracking his back audibly, as it definitely had a few cricks in it from carrying Naruto so far, even if it only took them 6 minutes to get to Ten's Akugai, it was an incredible burn on Isao's chakra. Naruto was looking at Isao in awe. Wow Isao. That is so cool, how do you move so fast? That was incredible. Isao chuckled, amused at Naruto's astonishment, hoping that maybe it could be turned into a drive to actually learn jutsus of his own at some point. Well, it involves this seal. Isao lifted up his shirt to show a large intricate seal tattooed across his belly, continuing on below his waist, down to his legs, and all the way up to his biceps on his arms, and what it does. As it propels my body at unbelievable speeds, which I will not try to explain to you how, but it produces a loud snap, and a red blur is left behind from my clothes, which has earned me the title the Red Lightning of Uzushio, and I rather enjoy my nickname, as it is rather fitting. Naruto again looked in complete awe. That is so cool. Someday, you will have to teach me how to make seals like that, so I can move that fast too. Again Isao chuckled, that will be no problem Naruto, I will teach you everything I know about the Uzumaki, the sealing arts, and my own personal repertoire of jutsus among other things as well. At that, Isao and Naruto walked into Isao's shop, Naruto looking around in wonder at the tools, weapons, scrolls, clothes and various shinobi equipment, but what especially caught Naruto's eye were 2 split blades, each with a circular strap attached to the end. The blades were dark red, roughly 18 inches long, and had a metal plate on the opposite end. Turning to Isao, Naruto exclaimed, Isao. What are those? Naruto gestured to the blades, hung on a wall, behind the main counter of the store. Isao looked at where Naruto was pointing. Oh those Naruto, were Uzumaki her honorous blades, they fit onto your wrist just below your hand, going over your hand, the blades are sharp on the outside, and the points are very sharp, the metal plate on the other end, protects your forearm, so you can use the entirety of your arm, plus 18 inches for a weapon, he was very skilled with them. As he actually invented and forged them himself, they were passed to me, as he was my grandfather, but I never liked to use them, I prefer to use standard kunai my weapons of choice. Isao's flashback. The 7-year-old Isao stared in awe as his grandfather showed him his blades. Wow. Those are so cool. Irinori chuckled, they are very precious to me, I created them myself, and I have used them in battle over 100 times, they have served me very well, maybe someday, after I give them to you, you can give them to your son. Flashback end. Wow. They are so cool though, how could you not have used them? Naruto was incredibly in love with the blades, they were the coolest things he had ever seen. Isao laughed, well if you want, we can take them with us, and maybe in a year or so, you can start learning to use them if you would like to. Naruto beamed a giant smile, alright. They are so cool. Isao reached up, pulling the blades down off the wall, before pulling out a sealing scroll, rolling it out, and placing the blades onto it, pressing onto the seal, putting the blades into the scroll. Isao handed the scroll to Naruto, who in turn, places the scroll into a backpack that he grabbed off a wall. Isao started to walk towards the back of the store. Now wait here Naruto, I need to get a lot of things packed up before we get going again. Naruto nodded, alright, but where are we headed for now Isao? Well, I had actually received word from a friend that Kurigakure is currently in the middle of a civil war, and I think that I need to go check that out, which I was going to do before word was sent to me that you were Konoha, my family, so I need to go there to help out an old friend of mine who may or may not be in a lot of trouble at the moment. Naruto smiled, cool, all at once I am out of Konoha for the first time, and I get to go to a whole new country. This is so cool. Yes well, we are going to be traveling there slowly, as there is a lot that I will have to teach you on the way there, starting with this question, do you know how to read, Naruto? Naruto smiled, seemingly proud, yeah, I do, one of the nice ladies at the orphanage taught me, and she says I'm really smart too. Well alright, that's good that there is one less thing I will have to worry about, well, find a couple changes of clothes Naruto, there is children's clothing over in the section over there, Isao pointed to the left back corner of the store, there won't be much of a selection to choose from, but you should be fine. 15 minutes later, they were both ready to leave, Isao having put nearly everything in the store into a sealing scroll, which we held inside of the backpacks that Naruto and Isao wore. Naruto glanced at Isao before they both started to walk off towards Kiri to go help Isao's unnamed friend. Isao and Naruto had been on the road for more than 2 weeks, taking a leisurely walking pace to Mizu, Isao taking time to teach Naruto a few things, mainly talking about ninja battle history, the Uzumaki clan history, how it tied into Uzushio, and the Uzumaki's place as the head of Uzushio. Naruto soaked all of the knowledge up, paying full attention to Isao as they walked, often tripping over rocks as they walked, his attention completely focused, his thoughts occupied. Naruto was also learning to throw kunai and shuriken when they made camp, quickly learning the form to throw them, and getting all the practice he could when they were paused for camp. When they were traveling, and Isao wasn't teaching Naruto history, Naruto was working on the leaf floating exercise as they walked, Naruto having very poor progress with it. When Naruto had started to get down about it, Isao had quickly told Naruto that Uzumaki often had large chakra pools, and that his poor chakra control would just have to be a lot of hard work. But his large chakra reserves would be much more useful once he learned large-scale jutsu, and he would have much more stamina in a fight than other ninja. In 2 weeks, Isao had told Naruto about the Uzumaki clan, detailing how they were the founders of Uzushio, how they led the village, and had always held close ties to Konoha, which was why the Uzumaki clan swirl was on the uniforms of Konoha shinobi, as a symbol of their friendship after most of the Uzumaki had been hunted down. Isao also explained to Naruto that their clan had been feared and hunted for their excellent grasp of sealing arts, surpassing all others by far, their knowledge growing and expanding hugely before the start of the Third Great Shinobi War, and that Iwa and Tsuchi heard of it and feared the Uzumaki's potential to become a major threat to them as the war went on. And so they massed their troops and launched a surprise attack on the village, later hunting down any and all survivors. At that, Isao had broken down into tears, tearfully telling Naruto how he was away on a high-priority scouting mission into Iwa territory alone to find most of Iwa's troops absent and a trail leading back to Uzushio. He had raced back to his home, way too late to even attack the Iwa forces at the village, we're long gone back to their own country. Here, Isao told how he had returned to his own home in the village to find that his wife dead, his daughter missing. He had searched the village center, taking many of the hidden Uzumaki scrolls of sealing that were hidden there, hidden behind blood seals so only the Uzumaki could ever get them. Naruto had asked where those scrolls were now, and Isao told them that he kept them in a sealing scroll hidden in an old Uzumaki clan hideout outside of Tenzakugai, and that was why Isao had set up shop there, so he was close by at all times. Isao then went on to tell about how immediately after leaving Uzushio, he was ambushed by a troop of 10 Iwa hunter nin sitting outside of the city, catching Uzumaki that returned home. He didn't detail the fight, only that he had been horribly enraged, destroying the hunter nin in a fit of rage. Finding that those hunter nin alone had caught and killed a dozen Uzumaki that had tried to return home. After realizing that Iwa would hunt him and kill him if he went to Konoha, he knew he had to stay hidden, so he went to the only country not involved in the war, Mizu. There he hid out from Iwa and Tsuchi, his old friend Ao protecting him, giving him a place to stay and grieve. And that is where Isao and Naruto were currently, walking to a rendezvous point that Ao had told him he and his allies were camped out at currently, as they hid from the Yonde Mizukage led a hunt to kill all the bloodline clans in Mizu, convincing the common people that bloodlines were demonic powers, attained from the evil powers. Isao and Naruto were roughly 200 more yards from where Ao had told Isao to be, walking through a thick, foggy forest, when Isao called for Naruto to stop, as 4 shapes emerged from the fog ahead of them, seeming to melt from the fog and trees, materializing before them like ghosts. They all wore bandanas over the bottom halves of their faces, but the seeming leader of them stepped forward, his face uncovered, and an eye patch covering his right eye, the veins bulging around the covered eye. He had electric blue hair sticking up in a faux hawk. Isao smiled wide as he approached. "Ao dude, it is great to see you." Isao reached his arm out to Ao, who took his hand as they shook hands. Ao turned to look at Naruto, taking in the red hair, green eyes, and facial features. Ao's visible eye widened. "Is this a son of yours, Isao?" Isao turned to Naruto, smiling. "He isn't my son Ao, but he is my relative, Naruto Uzumaki. He was in Konoha, and so I couldn't just let him stay there. There were other circumstances that led me to take him out of Konoha." Ao nodded. "As long as you can look after him yourself, we won't be able to look after him all the time when things get hairy." Isao nodded as well. "Yes, I realize that he will not be very safe while we are here, but I owe it to you to help you out, after all you have done for me." Ao smiled at that. "Yes, and I am very grateful for your help here. We are in a really tight spot against the Yondaime and his fanatical supporters. I don't know why he is so against bloodlines now. Yagura is only a teenager, yet he is the Yondaime Mizukage, and all the people follow him blindly. He is the Jinchuruki of the Yonbi, and he is immensely stronger than anyone but our leader Mei." He has killed hundreds of bloodline users, including being the leader of the group that killed the entire Kagaya clan, which was a huge lose to our chances. Isao's eyes widened at that, the entire Kagaya clan. That is unbelievable that any group of people, or even one person in particular, could even do that to such a ridiculously strong clan. Ao nodded, Yugura is a monster, he needs to be taken down, but the only person we have that can take him down is Mei, but she is too valuable to send to the front lines. Isao agreed, yes well I think I could take down a Jinchuruki if I needed to. Ao laughed at that, you could a hell of a lot more than that my friend, you could take on 3 Jinchuruki with your speed, and we will greatly appreciate your help. Ao turned back to his men, and now we can head off to the camp, Walden to keep Mei waiting with it. Isao waved over Naruto, who walked over, nodding to Ao, who extended his hand out to Naruto. Naruto took Ao's hand, it is nice to meet you Ao, good to meet someone who helped out Isao, which makes you cool in my books. Ao laughed, walking towards his allies as Isao and Naruto followed them back to their camp. Time skip. Isao walked into the rebels' camp, heading straight to Mei's tent to report the success of his last mission. It had been 4 months now that Isao and Naruto had been in Mizu, Isao working for the rebels' cause to rid Mizu of the obviously insane Yugura. Even Yugura's closest war counselors were said to be concerned, noticing that Yugura was completely not himself. In between his missions for Mizu, Isao had been training Naruto in basically anything and everything that he could. Naruto had learned the leaf floating exercise, no big task, but then he had utterly failed at creating a clone, a henge, but he could do the small fire jutsu to create a small enough flame to make a campfire. Isao was not even worried about Naruto being unable to make a clone or perform henge, as his Uzumaki boosted chakra with the Kyubus chakra would blow any small scale, low chakra jutsu way out of proportion. Isao had also proudly introduced Naruto into sealing, starting small with having Naruto learn to write a sealing scroll from memory, explain the basis behind the sealing scroll, and detail exactly how it was first created. Naruto knew how much it meant for Isao to teach Naruto sealing, as it was what made the Uzumaki famous and feared, so Naruto focused as much as he could into sealing. Declaring to Isao that he would be the best sealing master of all time, a proud goal for the future of the Uzumaki clan. Which also led Isao into his own personal dilemma. The Uzumaki clan way back in the beginning of the clan had set a rule called the Clan Restoration Act, declaring that if the Uzumaki clan fell below 3 members, that any surviving Uzumaki male would have to take on at least 4 wives and have a minimum of 4 male sons. Of course that meant he and Naruto would have to take 4 wives each, which was something he was definitely putting off as he had already had a wife and a daughter. Cutting out of his thoughts, Isao walked into the war council's tent, ducking his head through the entry flap. In the room was Mei, Ao, Kumara, the espionage division's leader, and Ako, leader of the frontal assault team, and Naruto sitting in a chair in the furthest corner. Naruto split a smile at seeing Isao, jumping from his seat and running to hug Isao. Naruto jumped up into Isao's arms, Isao speaking softly in Naruto's ear, "Hey buddy, I'm back, sorry for being gone for a week." Naruto laughed softly, "It's alright, and Mei is great company, even if she is 16. Looking over at the 16-year-old leader of the rebels' forces, Mei Terumi, one of the only survivors of her clan when Yugura had first attacked bloodline clans, the Terumi were the second clan hit, caught off guard as their leader led men against them. She was the holder of 2 bloodlines, one gave her control over boiling hot mist and control over lava as well. It was a very deadly combination, and as such, she had been trained as a ninja her whole life. Mei had looked on as Isao and Naruto had hugged, speaking when they were finished, "So how was your mission to take out that supply house?" Mei was referring to Isao's prior mission to destroy a supply warehouse where Yugura had thousands of kunai, shuriken, exploding tags, chakra pills, among other things. Isao stood apart from Naruto before speaking. "It was easy enough at first, I simply snuck inside, placed their own exploding tags all over the place, changed them slightly to blow up when I put chakra into a central seal, and boom the place went, but that was where things got interesting, as Yugura himself, in his chakra cloak, came flying out from the trees at me. Apparently word of my aid to you had reached him, as he appeared to have been waiting to ambush me." Isao coughed lightly, holding his ribs gently. "Yugura is a fast son of a bitch, let me tell you, he came flying out of nowhere at me, a blur to even me, he caught me with a huge cloaked hand to the chest, the blow instantly cracked my ribs and sent me flying through at least 15 trees, I don't know how the hell I managed to do it. But I was able to use my Akasenku no Jutsu to get out there before he even got to me again." Mei nodded, "Yes, Yugura's speed can only be matched by you with your seals, or another Jinchuruki. However, Yugura is the only Jinchuruki that Kiri has, so that isn't an option for us. I can only hope that when the time comes, I can kill Yugura before he kills me, not to mention what will happen once we kill Yugura, what will happen to the Yonbi after it is freed from its seal." Hirao nodded, "Yes, the Yonbi is definitely the next biggest concern, but what I propose we do is Their owl was caught off by a large explosion, seeming to have come from the south end of the camp. Confusion rippled through those in the tent, but then someone came running into the tent, screaming Yagura is here. In seconds, everyone was running out of the tent, sprinting to the fighting that could be heard. In a flash, only Naruto, Isao and Ao were left in the tent. Isao yelled to Naruto, stay in this tent until we get back Naruto, there are protective seals all over the tent, and you will be safe here. With a nod to Ao, the two were soon gone as well, leaving Naruto there alone. As soon as they were out of the tent, Ao grabbed Isao's shoulder. We have to let Mei take out Yagura. She has to if she is going to be able to maintain control over all of us here. Half of the people here would rather not be under the orders of a 16-year-old girl. But if she kills Yagura, it could help them respect her more. If she takes out the legendary Yagura, tyrant over Mizu. Isao nodded, of course, I will only interfere if Mei will not be able to defeat him, or something else comes up, and we need him taken down quickly, and not killed. Mei will have to kill him to defeat him, but I could take him down in seconds with chakra suppression seals if necessary. Yagura deserves to die for what he has done, and there is little that could change that. And then Isao was gone, the red lightning of Yuzushio a flash of red fury as he tore apart the opposing forces. There he was, cutting apart 4 Jounin level Mizunin in a second, then Flash, and 4 Chunin were a burning crisp from a fireball unleashed from a seal. Ao could barely follow the destruction as Isao destroyed the opposing forces. Power like this was a dangerous thing, and it could only be trusted to those with pure heart, and luckily, Isao was the purest man Ao had ever met, and yet it hurt to see him slaughter so many who never stood a chance, even if doing so saved his friends' lives. Then Ao took off too, aiming right to where he could feel Yagura and Mei fighting just outside of the camp, and on the way there, all he saw were dozens of dead loyalists, but only a few scattered rebels were dead. That was the power of the red flash, second only to the late yellow flash from Konoha. And the Ao was watching Mei struggle against Yagura, as everyone else was forbidden to enter the fight, and looking around, Ao saw nearly every rebel left watching the fight, as if the fighting was already over in the minute it took him to move across the camp. As if to have his questions answered, Idio jumped down next to him, his closest friend in the rebel forces. Goddamn Ao, why didn't you get Isao to come here ages ago? The man just single-handedly wiped out the entire loyalist force in a minute. Idio, Isao does not take pride in killing so many people that were only following orders, just like you or me. Many of those men did not believe in what Yagura has said these last few years, but they were just loyal to their village, and did not need to die like this, but to save the lives of those who seek to fight against the tyranny of Yagura, he did what he had to do. But I am sorry he had to do that. Do you realize how hard it is to sleep knowing you killed 100 people the day before? Do not take happiness in what he did for us, but feel grateful for the sacrifice he made for us. With that, Ao turned away from his friend to watch the fight between the bloodthirsty Jinchuriki and the child whose family he killed. Naruto was partially scared, partially curious as to what had happened in the few minutes that he had been in the tent, and so it was that he pulled the tent flap open and stepped outside. The first thing he saw was definitely a gruesome sight. Only 15 yards from the tent was the loyalist that had made it the furthest through the camp, a kunai sticking out of his neck, with his hands clutching the handle of the kunai as he tried to pull it out of his neck before he died. And just like that, bile rose up in Naruto's stomach, and he hurled as the venomous bile rose up and out his throat. Even after he had finished puking, Naruto could not stop retching as he dry heaved. It was nearly a minute before he could stop, but then Naruto could not cast even a glance at the man before he continued on after stealing his resolve. He picked his way through the camp, heading towards the fighting he could hear over everything else. The noise was so great from the fight, he did not hear the man's cries for help until he nearly stepped on his face. Naruto noticed the man lying on his back, his hands clutching at a long gash across his stomach, and then Naruto noticed the Mizu headband on his forehead that signified him as a loyalist, an enemy to those Isao believed were in the right. The man cried feebly, "Please kid, help me." He reached a hand out to Naruto, begging for help, as his life was slowly drained out of stomach. In a second, Naruto was beside the man, slipping his hand into his pocket as he quickly pulled out a roll of bandages and began to unroll them. Quickly, he was pressing the cloth into the nasty gash across the man's stomach, remembering what Isao had told him about first aid. But why do I need to know how to apply first aid, Isao? I am going to be so awesome that I won't ever be hurt. Naruto and Isao had been walking for nearly a week now, and among other things he had been teaching him, Isao thought Naruto should know the basics of first aid. Because Naruto, even if you never get hurt, if your best friend gets hurt really bad on a mission, and you do not know anything on how you could help him, he could die when you could have saved him. I learned that lesson because I was very similar to you when I was a genin, and I skipped first aid courses in our academy because I did not think I could ever get hurt. But then my best friend died because I could not save him, and that is something that never leaves you, Naruto. Naruto looked down, ashamed of his zealousness, a twinge of sadness reaching out to Isao in his heart as he thought of how hard being a ninja would be and how he could see his friends die. Naruto looked back up. Okay, I will listen to you now. So Naruto was pushing down on the wound with bandages, applying pressure to try to slow the rate of bleeding. Naruto was freaked out beyond anything he had ever experienced. He could hardly think as he went on autopilot, quickly tying bandages around the man's stomach. Wait here, Naruto stood up, I am going to run for help. The man gave a weak nod before letting his head rest as he continued to groan in agony. So it was that Naruto continued on through the camp, heading towards the remaining sounds of battle. With a sick twist, Isao pulled his kunai out of his last opponent, who had barely seen him before the light had left his eyes. Isao threw the kunai as it dripped the blood of the nearly 100 people he had killed in a slaughter. It was with a heavy sigh and sad eyes that Isao headed back towards the command tent, the red flash signifying his path. Quickly he arrived before the tent, pushing the flap open to peer inside, to see no Naruto. Isao's eyes opened wide in horror. Naruto. Quickly he jumped up high into the air, sensing for Naruto's presence somewhere in the camp. There, he was running towards the battle, maybe someone chasing him. And then Isao was gone in another red flash. It took barely 2 seconds to catch up to Naruto, as Isao practically tackled him in a hug after noticing no one else around him. Naruto, why didn't you stay in the tent? You could have died out here. Naruto did not look guilty for a second. There is a man dying, please follow me, you have to help him. So Naruto pointed Isao towards where he had left the man dying, and Isao took off with Naruto still in his arms towards the man. Then they were there, and Isao set Naruto down as he crouched down next to the man as he pulled the bandage off of his stomach. It really was a gruesome sight. Through all of the blood you could see intestines inside his body, and Naruto promptly threw up again. The man had gone unconscious at this point. The blood had seeped through the rough bandage that Naruto had wrapped around his stomach, and at that point the blood loss might have killed the man already, before Naruto could get help for him. The green light began to glow around Isao's hands as he lowered them near the wound, and before Naruto's eyes, the wound closed up in a matter of seconds. A potentially fatal wound healed in an instant. With a gasp, the man's chest heaved as he returned to consciousness, his hands quickly reaching for his stomach to find it completely healed already, so he quickly glanced around. He saw Naruto and smiled, "Thank you, kid." His voice was raspy and weak, having the wound healed wouldn't help him replenish the lost blood. Then he saw Isao and nearly jumped to his feet, which he would have if his legs could have supported him, so he fell back to the ground, but Isao caught him and lowered him to the ground. "You." The man had venom in his weak voice, "You murderer. You slaughtered us like a hand would swat pesky flies." He reached for his pocket and had a kunai in his hand before Isao's fist knocked it out of his hand before he could raise it up. Isao's eyes had rage in them. "I did what I had to do, to protect the people fighting against Yagura's tyranny, and to protect him, my family. I regret having to do what I did, but I would do it 100 times over to protect those fighting for justice, and for my family." Naruto was stunned. He knew Isao was strong, but was he really so strong that he gave no one any chance against him, and he had simply slaughtered people? Isao continued, "It was your side that attacked innocent people who were just born into families with powers. It was your side that has slave lines set up all across the country and other countries. It is your side that attacked us here, so I fight for those people that your side slaughtered. Like the Terumi, the Kagaya, and the dozens of other clans your side slaughtered. You call me a murderer, yet you have contributed to the death of hundreds of innocent lives." Isao raised a fist and slammed it down onto the man's face, rendering him unconscious once again. "Naruto, this man deserves to die for his crimes, and at the least, he will be imprisoned for the rest of his life for what he has done. It would have been a mercy for me not to have saved this man's life." So Isao tied the man up, hog-tying his hands and feet together so he could be taken later, and the two of them were gone in a red flash towards the sounds of battle. Yagura was incredibly fast, and as he dashed around Mei, it was all she could do to defend herself from his attacks. It was clear that at this point, Yagura had slipped completely into a Biju-fueled rage, in complete berserker style. He was relying only on his Biju-enhanced strength and speed to fight Mei. Mei, however, was the complete opposite of Yagura, an epitome of calm. Mei had surrounded herself in red-hot magma that was spinning in a circle around her. Yagura would rush in as fast as lightning, but with a blast of combined lava and burning hot steam, she sent him packing every time. It was clear that even with as strong and fast as Yagura was, he was never going to get past Mei's defenses as it was. Even as Naruto saw this, Yagura stopped 20 feet from Mei and yelled, "Tailed beast ball." Rolling himself up in a tight ball, 1 second Yagura was 20 feet away from Mei, and the next, Mei had been thrown like a rag doll nearly 40 yards before coming to a stop, giving Mei no time to recover. Yagura began to use Coral Palm to encase Mei in coral. As Mei realized the danger she was in, all of the offending coral was blown away by a blast of steam. As Yagura again began to spin in a ball, he was hit by Mei's blast and blown off his feet. Even though the attack could have killed anyone else, it barely scratched Yagura. It was as if the entire camp was watching the fight between the two, as the rest of the fight was already over. The power at Isao's disposal was incredible. He had destroyed the majority of the enemy force single-handedly. No one was interfering with the fight, and everyone was giving them a wide berth so as to stay well out of the way from any stray attacks. This was Mei's fight to have, and none were going to interfere because no one else stood a chance against Yugura except for Isao. Scanning the crowd of onlookers, Isao picked out Ao watching the fight from 40 feet away, and after telling Naruto to stay put, he dashed over to him. "So Ao, glad I came along to help in the fight." Isao said it jokingly, but Ao was very serious about the matter. "Your help is greatly appreciated, Isao. Well, I do think we would have won today regardless. Your help saved countless of our men from death. When this fight is over and we march to Mizugakure to formally announce our victory, we will owe you a debt, and your part in this will not be forgotten." Isao shook Ao's now extended hand. "I fought with you because you are fighting a just cause, and Yugura is a brutal leader that has controlled Mizu with terror for far too long. After Mei defeats him, and I believe she will, it will solidify her claim as the next Mizukage, and hopefully you and her can reform the village to better than it has been under previous rule." There was a large explosion as a blast of Mei's steam was met with a tailed beast ball, forcing everyone to back dozens of feet back to avoid the blast radius. While the spectators were able to move out of the way, Yugura and Mei were both hit hard by the force of it. As the spectators watched eagerly for what would happen next, through the smoke you could see one figure standing over the other, and as the rest of the smoke cleared, it revealed Mei standing over Yugura's body as he panted in exhaustion, his body clearly unable to move. He had met his match. Isao was watching, waiting for Mei to make the final move and kill Yugura, before he heard Ao gasp beside him. "Isao. I activated my Byakugan to see through the smoke, and I can see that there is foreign chakra flowing through Yugura's body. I think that someone is controlling him." Isao turned to the Ao, taking in the stunned look on his face. "Are you absolutely sure about that, Ao? If it then Yugura could have been being controlled this whole time, I can subdue Yugura with chakra draining tags. Are you absolutely sure?" Ao nodded his head swiftly. "Yeah, there is no doubt about it. Someone is controlling Yugura with some kind of genjutsu. You should stop Mei from killing him so we can find out more." Taking just a split second longer to think over the choices, Isao was gone in a red flash, reappearing beside Mei as he placed a hand on her shoulder to stop her before she could drop a bowl of lava onto Yugura. "Ao says there is a genjutsu controlling Yugura right now. We should capture him and attempt to break this genjutsu before deciding to kill him or not." Mei looked at Isao for a second before nodding. "If it true then, restrain him with seals and bindings until we can question him." Turning to face the surrounding spectators she began to speak. "We are victorious. Today with the help of our ally Isao, we have defeated the main force of the remaining loyalists, and I myself defeated Yugura." There was a resounding cheer from the rebels. "Soon we will take march back to Mizugakure to restore order and raise Mizu out of this war better than before. We have now ended the tyrannical reign of Yugura, and soon we return to Mizu." There was deafening cheering now from the rebels, as the tired forces of the rebels could now see victory in sight. Soon they, and their families, could move back to the village they used to call home, and that they had fought for in the last few years of the war. But as all of the cheering and celebration began to go on, Mei, Ao, Isao and Naruto were back in the command tent with Yugura tied to a chair with chakra suppressant seals all over his body. He had passed out after the fight, and Ao had done another examination of Yugura, and he said that the chakra suppressant seals were also blocking the genjutsu mind control Yugura had been under. When Yugura awoke, the four of them would find out if Yugura was really in control, or if there was someone pulling his strings the whole time. Thanks for watching.